Captain Jin-Woo Kim stood on the bridge of the UHNS Indomitable, watching the stars streak past the viewport. His fleet had been patrolling the Valoran sector for 3 months now, and most days were quiet. Too quiet, some of his crew said. But Jin-Woo knew that quiet was good. Quiet meant people were safe. The bridge hummed with soft conversation and the gentle beeping of various systems. Jin-Woo sipped his coffee and reviewed the day's reports. Everything seemed normal. His crew was efficient and professional. They had to be. Humans were still newcomers to the Galactic Assembly, and everyone watched them carefully. Lieutenant Hana Park sat at the communications console, her fingers dancing across the controls as she monitored dozens of channels. She was young but talented, speaking 7 alien languages fluently. Jin-Woo trusted her completely. When she suddenly straightened in her chair, he noticed immediately. "Captain," Hana said, her voice tight with concern. "I'm picking up a distress signal. It's on all emergency channels." "Put it through," Jin-Woo ordered, setting down his coffee. The bridge speakers crackled to life. The voice that came through was high-pitched and trembling, translated by the ship's computer into Korean. "This is Colony K447. We are under attack. The Vreneth have boarded our station. Our defense force is gone. We have 300 civilians trapped in the core habitat. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need help. Our life support is failing. We have maybe 8 hours. Please help us." The message repeated, growing more desperate each time. Jin-Woo felt his jaw tighten. He had heard of the Vreneth. They were pirates, brutal and efficient. They raided mining colonies and killed anyone who got in their way. "Who sent this?" Jin-Woo asked. "The Chilari, sir," Hana replied. "They're a peaceful species. They don't even have weapons on their colonies." Commander Daehyun Choi stepped up beside Jin-Woo, pulling up a tactical display on the main screen. "The nearest assembly rapid response team is 6 days out. We're the closest ship with any military capability." "How far are we?" Jin-Woo asked. 18 hours if we push the engines hard," Daehyun said. His face was grim. "Captain, the Chilari won't last 6 days. They won't even last 18 hours if the Vreneth decide to kill them." Jin-Woo studied the display. He could see the location of K447, a small asteroid on the edge of civilized space. He could also see his own fleet. 3 ships that represented humanity's presence in this sector. The decision should have been difficult, but it wasn't. Not really. "Medical Officer Lee," Jin-Woo called out. Yuna Lee looked up from her station. She had been reviewing the medical data on Chilari physiology, already anticipating what might be needed. "Yes, Captain? What do we know about the Chilari?" "They're fragile by our standards," Yuna said. "Low-gravity species, thin atmosphere preference. They can't handle stress well. If their life support is failing, they're probably already in bad shape." "Can they fight back against the Vreneth?" Yuna shook her head. "No, sir. They're pacifists. Their biology doesn't handle adrenaline well. They'd probably pass out from fear alone." Jin-Woo nodded slowly. He looked around his bridge. His crew was watching him, waiting for his decision. They all knew what was at stake. If they diverted to help the Chilari, they might arrive too late. They might face overwhelming force. They might die trying to save people they had never met. But that wasn't really the question, was it? The question was whether they would try. "Commander Choi," Jin-Woo said, his voice firm, "plot a course to K447, maximum speed." "Yes, sir," Daehyun responded immediately, already working on the calculations. "Lieutenant Park, send a message to the Chilari. Tell them help is coming. Tell them to hold on." Hana's fingers flew over her console. "Message sent, Captain. Also contact the other ships in our fleet. Tell them what we're doing and where we're going." "Right away, sir." Jin-Woo felt the ship shift beneath his feet as the engines powered up to full thrust. The gentle hum became a roar. The Indomitable was built tough, like all human ships. She could handle the strain. So could her crew. "Captain," a voice called from across the bridge. It was Lieutenant Soman Han, the tactical officer. "Should I alert the Marine unit?" Jin-Woo considered this. Master Sergeant Taeyang Baek commanded the Marine complement aboard the Indomitable. 200 soldiers trained for combat in any environment. If things got violent, they would be needed. "Yes," Jin-Woo said. Tell Sergeant Back to prepare his team for potential hostile engagement. Full combat gear. Understood, sir. The bridge fell quiet except for the sound of the engines in various systems. Everyone was processing what they were about to do. Humans had been part of the Galactic Assembly for 15 years, but they were still viewed with suspicion by many species. Earth was classified as a Class 12 death world, one of the most dangerous planets in known space. Everything about Earth tried to kill its inhabitants. The gravity was crushing, the weather was violent, the animals were deadly, the microorganisms were aggressive, and yet humans thrived there. They adapted, evolved, and became something that other species found terrifying. Most intelligent life in the galaxy came from gentle worlds with light gravity and calm weather. They couldn't understand how humans survived, let alone flourished in such conditions. This made humans valuable as soldiers and explorers, but it also made them frightening. Many species in the assembly voted to restrict human expansion, to limit their military, to keep them contained. They worried that Deathworlders would be violent, aggressive, unable to coexist peacefully. Jinwoo thought about this as his ship raced toward K-447. His orders from Earth Command were clear. Prove that humans could be trusted. Show the galaxy that they were more than just scary monsters from a nightmare planet. But how did you prove that? With words? With diplomacy? Or with actions? Captain, Hana said softly. I'm receiving a response from the Chilari. Play it. The voice was the same as before, high and trembling. Thank you. Thank you for responding. We didn't think anyone would come. The assembly forces are too far away. We thought we were going to die here. Thank you. Jinwoo heard the hope in that voice, fragile and desperate. 300 people who thought they were abandoned, who thought the galaxy had forgotten them. And now they knew someone was coming. Someone cared enough to try. Hana, tell them we'll be there in 18 hours. Tell them to stay strong. Yes, sir. Daehyun stepped closer to Jinwoo, speaking quietly. Sir, we don't know what we're flying into. The Vreneth might have significant forces. We could be outgunned. I know, Jinwoo said. We could die trying to save them. I know that too. Daehyun smiled slightly. Just wanted to make sure you understood the situation, sir. Commander, I understand perfectly. We received a distress call. We have the ability to respond, so we respond. That's what humans do. Yes, sir, that's what humans do. The ship continued its race through space, engines burning hot, every system pushed to maximum efficiency. Behind them, 2 other human vessels followed, their captains having received the same information and made the same choice. Together, the small fleet drove forward into unknown danger, driven by a simple truth that every human understood instinctively. When someone calls for help, you answer. Not because it's easy, not because it's safe, but because it's right. The stars streaked past, and K-447 grew closer with every passing moment. 18 hours felt like 18 years, but finally the human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel near K-447. What Jinwoo saw on the main screen made his blood run cold. The asteroid colony was surrounded by 15 Vreneth attack craft. They were smaller than human ships but sleek and dangerous-looking. The mining station itself showed massive damage. Entire sections were torn open to space. Debris floated everywhere. Fires burned in some compartments, visible through broken windows. Tactical analysis, Jinwoo ordered. Lieutenant Soman Han worked quickly, her hands moving across her console. 15 Vreneth vessels, Captain. They're armed with plasma cannons and missile systems. Based on assembly intelligence, they outgun us significantly. By assembly standards, Daehyun added quietly, not by human standards. That was true. Human ships were built differently than most galactic vessels. They had to be. Earth's gravity was so strong that escaping it required incredibly powerful engines and sturdy construction. What seemed like overkill to other species was simply necessary for humans. Their ships could take punishment that would shatter alien vessels. Their engines could push harder. Their weapons hit heavier. Incoming transmission, Hana announced. The Vreneth are hailing us. Put it through. The voice that came through the speakers was harsh and clicking, translated by the computer. Human vessels, you have entered a restricted zone. Leave immediately or you will be destroyed. This is your only warning. Jinwoo smiled without humor. Tell them we're responding to a distress call. Tell them to stand down and release the hostages. Hana translated and sent the message. The response came quickly. The Chilari colony belongs to us now. Their resources, their technology, everything. Leave now, humans. This doesn't concern your kind. Captain, Samin interrupted urgently. I'm detecting something. The Vrenith have attached explosive charges to the main habitat section, right where the Chilari civilians are sheltering. Jinwoo felt his stomach drop. Can you confirm that? Yes, sir. Multiple charges, linked to a remote detonator. If we attack the Vrenith, they'll blow up the hostages. The bridge fell silent. This changed everything. A straight fight they could handle, even outnumbered. But hostages with bombs attached? That was a different problem entirely. Options, Jinwoo said, looking at Daehyun. His second-in-command studied the tactical display, his expression thoughtful. We can't fight them directly. The moment we fire, they trigger the explosives. We can't negotiate. The Vrenith don't negotiate in good faith. And we can't wait. The Chilari life support is almost gone. So what do we do? Daehyun was quiet for a moment. Then he looked up with a strange expression. We do something they won't expect. Something impossible by galactic standards. I'm listening. We insert Marines directly onto the station while engaging the Vrenith fleet. The Marines locate and neutralize the explosives before the Vrenith can detonate them. Then we eliminate the boarding parties. Once the hostages are safe, we take out the Vrenith ships. Salmon looked shocked. Commander, that's insane. The timing would have to be perfect. Any mistake and everyone dies. I know. The Marines would have to move through vacuum, breach a hostile station, find the explosives in minutes, disarm them under fire, and then fight the Vrenith in close quarters. The Chilari are trapped in a sealed section. One stray shot could kill them all. I know that too. Jinwoo considered it. By any reasonable standard, it was impossible. Too many variables. Too many things that could go wrong. Most species in the galaxy avoided ground combat entirely. It was too dangerous, too unpredictable. Space battles were clean. You either won or lost. Ground fighting was messy and brutal, but humans were good at messy and brutal. Get me Sergeant Baek, Jinwoo ordered. A moment later, the gruff face of Master Sergeant Taeyang Baek appeared on screen. He looked like he had been expecting the call. Captain. Sergeant, we have a situation. Jinwoo explained the tactical problem, the hostages, the explosives, and Daehyun's plan. Taeyang listened without interrupting. When Jinwoo finished, the sergeant nodded slowly. It's doable, sir. Difficult, but doable. My Marines can handle it. You'll be working in vacuum for extended periods. The station is damaged. Some sections are exposed to space. Others are on fire. There's no gravity in parts of it. And you'll be fighting the Vrenith in close quarters. Sir, my people trained for exactly this kind of operation. We can do it. Jinwoo studied the sergeant's face. Taeyang was a veteran of Earth's border wars. He had seen real combat. He knew what he was promising. How many people do you need? 40 Marines, 2 teams. 1 to handle the explosives, 1 to clear the Vrenith. You'll have them. How long do you need to prepare? Give me 30 minutes, Captain. You have 20. We're running out of time. Taeyang grinned. Even better, sir. We work well under pressure. The screen went dark. Unilee spoke up from her station. Captain, I should go with them. If there are wounded Chilari, they'll need immediate medical attention. It's going to be dangerous, Doctor. I'm aware, sir, but I'm trained for combat medicine, and I've studied Chilari biology. I can help. Jinwoo wanted to say no. Yuna was too valuable to risk. But she was right. If they saved the Chilari but lost them to medical complications, what was the point? Fine, but you stay with the Marines at all times. No heroics. Yes, sir. Lieutenant Park, I need you to establish a secure communication channel with the Chilari. Don't let the Vrenith intercept it. Tell them what we're planning. Tell them to be ready. Hana nodded and got to work. Her fingers flew across her console, creating an encrypted burst transmission that would reach the Chilari without alerting the Vreneth. It was delicate work, requiring perfect timing and frequency selection. "Captain," Engineer Minho Kang's voice came through the comm system. "I heard about the plan. I'm modifying 3 assault shuttles for high-speed insertion. They won't be pretty landings, but they'll get the Marines onto that station." "How long?" 15 minutes. "Make it 12. "Yes, sir." Jinwoo watched the clock count down. His crew moved with practiced efficiency, each person knowing their role, trusting each other completely. This was what made human crews effective. They could adapt quickly. They could take insane plans and make them work through skill and determination. "Captain," Hana said, "I've reached the Chilari. Their leader, Elder Veshtan, is on the line. He sounds terrified. Put him through to my station. Private channel." Jinwoo's screen lit up with the image of a Chilari. They looked like large slugs with multiple tentacles and soft, translucent skin. Their eyes were huge and dark. Veshtan was trembling. "Human captain," the alien said, his voice shaking even through translation. "We received your message. Your plan is... It seems impossible." "It's difficult," Jinwoo admitted, "but it's your best chance. We can do this." "How?" "The Vreneth have explosives. They have warriors throughout the station. Your people will have to move through areas that would kill most species. The cold alone." "Elder Veshtan, humans come from a death world. We can handle conditions that would kill others. Trust us." The Chilari was silent for a moment. "Why are you doing this? You don't know us. We have nothing to offer you. The assembly would understand if you left us to die. No one would blame you." Jinwoo thought about that. Why were they doing this? The strategic answer was about reputation, about proving humans could be trusted. But that wasn't the real reason. The real reason was simpler and more fundamental. "We're doing this because you asked for help," Jinwoo said. "And because we can help, that's enough." Veshatan's eyes seemed to glisten with moisture. "I don't understand your kind, Captain, but I am grateful beyond words. Just keep your people calm and ready. When my Marines arrive, do exactly what they tell you, even if it seems strange or frightening." "We will. Thank you, Captain. Whatever happens, thank you for trying." The connection closed. Jinwoo looked at the clock. 5 minutes until the Marines were ready. 5 minutes until they launched one of the most dangerous operations in human military history. 5 minutes until they proved what Deathworlders could really do. "All ships," Jinwoo announced to the fleet, "prepare for combat operations. When those shuttles launch, we engage the Vreneth with everything we have. Make them focus on us. Give our people on the ground every second they need." The acknowledgements came back immediately. Human captains, ready to fight. Ready to put themselves between civilians and danger. "Captain," Taeyong's voice came through. "Marines are ready. We're boarding the shuttles now. Good hunting, Sergeant. See you on the other side, sir." Jinwoo watched as 3 small shuttles detached from the Indomitable's hangar. They looked fragile against the backdrop of enemy ships and the damaged station. Inside those shuttles were 40 Marines and 1 doctor, about to attempt something that most of the galaxy would consider suicide, but they weren't most of the galaxy. They were human, and humans specialized in doing the impossible. The battle began with calculated violence. The Indomitable and her 2 escort destroyers suddenly changed formation, spreading out and opening fire on the Vreneth ships. Plasma bolts streaked through space, bright against the darkness. The Vreneth responded immediately, just as Daehyun predicted. Their ships wheeled around to engage the human fleet, confident in their superior numbers. 15 against 3. By their mathematics, they should win easily. They didn't understand human mathematics. Lieutenant Hyun Song sat in the cockpit of his fighter, launched from the Indomitable just seconds after the shooting started. He flew straight at a Vreneth cruiser, his fighter's engines screaming. The Vreneth ship fired at him. Hyun dodged, pulling his fighter into a turn that registered 12 Gs on his instruments. Most species would have been crushed by that force. Their organs would have ruptured. Their bones would have broken. But Hyun's body, shaped by millions of years of evolution on a high-gravity world, handled it. It hurt, Yes, his vision grayed at the edges. But he stayed conscious. He stayed in control. The Vreneth ship tried to track him but couldn't match his maneuvers. Hyun came around behind it and fired. His missiles struck true, punching through the alien ship's shields and tearing into its hull. The Vreneth cruiser spun away, trailing atmosphere. "That's one," Hyun reported calmly, already looking for his next target. While the space battle raged, 3 assault shuttles raced toward the station. Ensign Ji-won An piloted the lead shuttle, her hands steady on the controls. Behind her, 13 Marines sat in silence, checking their weapons and equipment. 30 seconds to impact, Ji-won announced. "Everyone hold on. This is going to be rough." She wasn't lying. Normal docking procedures were slow and careful. You matched velocity, aligned perfectly, and connected gently. Ji-won was going to do none of that. She aimed her shuttle at a damaged section of the station's outer hull and accelerated. The shuttle hit like a meteor. The crash webbing strained. Equipment rattled. But the shuttle's reinforced nose punched through the weakened hull and lodged there, creating a makeshift airlock. "We're in," Ji-won reported. "Marines away." The rear hatch blew open, and Master Sergeant Taeyang Baek led his team out into the station. They moved through a section that was completely exposed to vacuum. No air, no heat, no pressure, just empty space and frozen metal. Taeyang's armor read -200 degrees Celsius. Cold enough to freeze most substances solid. Cold enough to kill any unprotected human in seconds. But his armor kept him alive, and more importantly, it kept him moving. He ran through the frozen corridor, his magnetic boots gripping the floor, his rifle ready. Behind him, his Marines spread out in a practiced formation. They had trained for this. Vacuum operations, hostile boarding, zero-gravity combat. On Earth, they had practiced in underwater facilities, in aircraft at high altitude, in chambers that simulated every deadly environment imaginable. This was just one more deadly environment. "Team 2, report," Taeyang said over the comm. "In position," Sergeant Junho Nam replied. His team had landed on the opposite side of the station. "We're moving toward the habitat section now." "Copy. Team 1 is heading for the explosives. Keep the Vreneth off our backs." "Understood." Taeyang's team moved quickly through the damaged station. They passed through sections that were burning, the fires consuming what little oxygen remained. They crossed chambers that were flooded with toxic gas. They navigated corridors that were radioactive from damaged power cells. Each environment would have stopped most species. But humans just kept going, protected by their armor and driven by their mission. Save the hostages. Neutralize the explosives. Simple orders. Brutal execution. "Contact," one of the Marines shouted. A group of Vreneth warriors appeared ahead, their insectoid bodies encased in environmental suits. They saw the humans and opened fire immediately. Plasma bolts streaked down the corridor. Taeyang and his team took cover and returned fire. The Vreneth were good fighters, trained and experienced. But they made one critical mistake. They assumed the humans would fight like other species, careful, defensive, avoiding risk. Instead, Taeyang signaled his team and they charged. The Vreneth hesitated, confused by the tactic. That hesitation cost them. The Marines closed the distance in seconds, transitioning from rifles to close-quarters weapons. Humans preferred fighting at physical range. Their bodies were built for it. Strong bones, dense muscles, aggressive instincts honed by evolution. The corridor became a storm of violence. The Vreneth were tough, but the humans were relentless. Within minutes, the fight was over. Taeyang's team moved on, leaving dead Vreneth behind them. "Team 2, status," Taeyang called. "Engaged with Vreneth forces," Junho responded. "They're dug in near the habitat section. We're pushing them back." Meanwhile, Specialist Yoonji Shin and her demolition team reached the explosives. They were sophisticated devices, placed strategically around the habitat section where the Chilari sheltered. Yoonji scanned them quickly with her equipment. "This is bad," she muttered. "How bad?" Taeyang asked. "These charges are connected to a dead man's switch. 3 layers of redundancy, quantum encryption." If we try to disarm them the normal way, they'll detonate. If the Vreneth trigger them remotely, they'll detonate. If we cut the wrong wire, they'll detonate. Can you stop them? Yunji studied the devices, her mind racing. She had 4 minutes before the Vreneth realized what was happening and triggered the charges manually. 4 minutes to solve a problem that should take hours. Not conventionally, she said, but I have an idea. She didn't disarm the explosives. Instead, she worked quickly to rewire them, severing their connection to the Vreneth command ship and slaving them to her armor's computer. It was insane. It meant the explosives would detonate if her armor failed, but it also meant the Vreneth couldn't trigger them anymore. Done, Yunji reported. The charges are neutralized. Well, sort of. Don't let anything happen to my armor. Copy that, Taeyang said. Good work. Now get to the habitat section. The Chilari need medical attention. Across the station, Junho's team had fought their way to the main Vreneth position. The pirates had barricaded themselves in a large chamber, using stolen mining equipment for cover. They fired at the Marines with disciplined volleys. Junho assessed the situation. A frontal assault would be costly. But there was another option. He noticed that part of the chamber's wall was damaged, exposing it to a storage area that was currently on fire. Cover me, Junho ordered. He ran along the corridor, bullets striking near him, until he reached the damaged wall. Then he did something the Vreneth didn't expect. He kicked the wall. His armored boot, backed by human strength and enhanced by his suit's servos, punched through the weakened metal. Fire rushed through the opening, filling the Vreneth position with smoke and heat. The pirates panicked. Fire was deadly to most species. They broke formation and ran. Junho's Marines were waiting. The fight ended quickly. Path to the habitat is clear, Junho reported. Taeyang's team reached the sealed doors of the habitat section. Inside, 300 terrified Chilari waited, their life support systems showing red warning lights. Taeyang keyed his comm to the frequency Hana had given him. Elder Veshtan, this is Sergeant Bayek. We're outside your doors. We're coming in. Please hurry, the Chilari elder responded. We're dying. The Marines breached the door carefully. When it opened, they found a scene of desperation. The Chilari were huddled together, their soft bodies trembling. The air was thin and contaminated. The temperature was barely above freezing. Dr. Yuna Lee pushed past the Marines, her medical kit already open. She scanned the nearest Chilari and frowned. This one has severe hypoxia. This one is in hypothermic shock. They're all in bad shape. The Chilari stared at her in confusion. The temperature that was killing them was merely uncomfortable for Yuna. The air that they couldn't breathe was enough for her. She moved among them without protective equipment, treating the worst cases first. A young Chilari scientist named Tolveen watched Yuna work. How? He asked weakly. How can you function in these conditions? Yuna smiled at him while injecting medicine into another patient. We come from a hard world. This is just a bad day for us. Outside the habitat, the space battle was turning. The Vreneth had expected an easy fight against human ships. Instead, they found themselves outmaneuvered and outgunned. Human vessels could accelerate faster, turn harder, and take more damage than galactic models predicted. The Indomitable scored a direct hit on the Vreneth flagship, and suddenly the entire enemy formation began to collapse. One by one, the pirate ships either fled or surrendered. On the bridge, Jinwoo watched the tactical display with satisfaction. Cease fire, he ordered. Hail the remaining Vreneth vessels. This is Captain Jinwoo Kim, he announced. Your forces on the station are defeated. Your ships are disabled. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to assembly law. Resist further, and you will be destroyed. There was a long pause. Then, one by one, the Vreneth ships powered down their weapons. Sergeant Bayek, Jinwoo called. Status? Hostages secure, sir. Vreneth forces neutralized. We're beginning evacuation of the Chilari now. Dr. Lee says they'll all survive with treatment. Jinwoo allowed himself a small smile. They had done it. Against the odds, against logic, against what the galaxy thought possible. They had saved 300 lives. Well done, Sergeant. Bring them home. In the habitat section, Taeyang helped Veshtan stand. The elderly Chilari looked at the human sergeant with something like wonder. "You came," Veshitan said simply. "You actually came." "We said we would," Taeyang replied. "Humans keep their promises." The evacuation of the Chilari took 6 hours. Each civilian had to be carefully moved from the damaged station to the human ships. Dr. Yuna Lee worked without rest, treating cases of hypothermia, oxygen deprivation, and severe stress. Many of the Chilari were so weak they could barely move. Captain Jinwoo watched the operation from the bridge of the Indomitable. His crew had performed brilliantly, but the cost showed on their faces. Everyone was exhausted. The Marines especially looked worn down, having fought in harsh conditions for hours. "Captain," Lieutenant Soman Han called out, "the Vreneth flagship is hailing us again. Their commander wants to speak with you." "Put him through." The screen showed a Vreneth warrior, his insectoid face unreadable to human eyes. But the translator caught the tone of his voice. He was angry and humiliated. "Human captain," the Vreneth commander said, "I formally surrender my forces to you. According to Galactic Assembly regulations, you must cease all hostile actions and accept our surrender." Jinwoo leaned back in his chair. This was the moment he had been dreading. According to Assembly law, a formal surrender must be accepted. It was one of the fundamental rules of galactic warfare. You didn't kill enemies who surrendered. But the Vreneth were known for false surrenders. They would yield when losing, wait for their enemies to lower their guard, and then strike again. It was their standard tactic. If Jinwoo accepted the surrender at face value, he might be putting his crew at risk. Commander Daehyun stepped close and spoke quietly. "Sir, we could refuse the surrender. Claim they're pirates outside Assembly protection." "That would be a lie," Jinwoo said. "Yes, sir. But it would be safer for our people." Jinwoo thought about this. Safety versus honor. Pragmatism versus principles. It would be easy to justify killing the Vreneth. They were murderers. They had been ready to blow up 300 civilians. The galaxy wouldn't blame humanity for destroying them. But would that prove humans could be trusted? Or would it prove they were exactly the monsters everyone feared? "Open a broadcast channel," Jinwoo ordered. "All frequencies. I want everyone in this sector to hear what I'm about to say." "Channel open, sir," Jinwoo addressed the Vreneth commander directly. "I accept your surrender. However, there are conditions. Your ships will be boarded by my Marines. Your weapon systems will be disabled. Your crews will be confined to designated areas. Any sign of treachery will result in immediate destruction of your vessels. Do you accept these terms?" The Vreneth commander was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, there was something new in his voice. Confusion. "You're actually accepting our surrender? Even though you know our reputation?" "I'm accepting it because it's the right thing to do under Assembly law," Jinwoo said. "But I'm not a fool. Break faith with me and there won't be a second chance." "I understand. We accept your terms." The channel closed. Daehyun looked at Jinwoo with something like admiration. "That was a risk, sir." "Yes, it was. But if we want the galaxy to trust us, we have to show we can be trusted. That means following the rules even when it's difficult. And if they betray us, then we destroy them and move on. But at least we'll have given them the chance to do the right thing." Lieutenant Hana Park spoke up from her station. "Captain, I'm receiving hundreds of messages. Other ships in the sector heard your broadcast. Some are praising your decision. Others are calling you naive." "Let them call me whatever they want," Jinwoo said. "Actions speak louder than words." Down in the medical bay, Yuna continued her work with the Chilari survivors. The space was crowded with injured aliens, most of them lying on beds that were too firm for their soft bodies. She had adapted as best she could, using extra padding and adjusting the gravity in the bay to accommodate them. Tolveen, the young Chilari scientist, sat on one of the beds watching her work. His own injuries were minor, but he had refused to leave the medical bay. He wanted to see how humans practiced medicine. "You're different from what I expected," Tolveen said. Yuna looked up from treating a patient. "Different how?" "The assembly files on humans describe you as dangerous, aggressive, violent. But you're gentle with us. You could have let us die. It would have been easier than risking your lives." Yuna finished with her patient and sat down next to Tolveen. She was tired and her shoulders ached. We are dangerous. We are aggressive. Earth made us that way. But that doesn't mean we're cruel. We understand survival. We understand struggle. When we see others suffering, we remember what it's like. Your world must be terrible. Yuna laughed softly. Earth? Yes and no. It's beautiful and deadly at the same time. Everything there is trying to kill you, but that makes life precious. Every day you survive is a victory. You learn to appreciate what you have. I don't think I could survive there for even a day. Probably not, Yuna admitted. But that's okay. You don't have to. That's why we have different worlds for different people. Elder Veshitan approached them, moving slowly on his many tentacles. He still looked weak, but the color had returned to his skin. Dr. Lee, I wanted to thank you. You saved many lives today. I was just doing my job, Elder. No, Veshitan said firmly. You did much more than that. You and your people risked everything for strangers. That is not normal in the galaxy. Most species would have calculated the cost and decided we weren't worth saving. Then most species are missing the point, Yuna said. Your people. You matter. That's enough. Veshitan's large eyes glistened. I wish to make a request. When the Assembly investigators arrive, I want to testify about what happened here. I want to tell the galaxy what you did for us. That's not necessary. But it is. The galaxy fears humans. They see you as dangerous Deathworlders. They need to understand that you're more than that. You're protectors. On the bridge, Taeyang Baek stood with Jinwoo, reviewing the after-action reports. The Marine sergeant looked exhausted but satisfied. We lost 0 Marines, sir. A few injuries, but nothing serious. The Vrenith casualties were high. How high? 70% of their boarding force. We didn't give them much choice. Did they deserve a choice? Jinwoo asked quietly. Taeyang thought about that. They were trying to kill civilians, sir. They had explosives set to murder 300 innocent people. In my book, they got what they deserved. But we still accepted their surrender when they asked for it. Yes, sir, we did, because we're better than they are. Jinwoo smiled. That's the hope, Sergeant. That's the hope. Over the next 2 days, the situation stabilized. The Vrenith ships were secured without incident. The Chilari were transferred to assembly medical vessels that arrived to assist. The human fleet prepared to resume their patrol duties. But something had changed. Word of the rescue spread across the sector with incredible speed. Other species heard about how the humans had responded to a distress call, how they had fought in conditions that should have been impossible, how they had saved every single Chilari civilian, and how they had accepted an enemy surrender even when they had every reason not to. Lieutenant Hana showed Jinwoo some of the communications they were receiving. Sir, we're getting messages from all over the sector. Some are from species that have never contacted humans before. They're asking about diplomatic relations, about trade, about military cooperation. What changed? Jinwoo asked. You did, sir. When you accepted that surrender, you showed the galaxy that humans have restraint, that we're not just mindless killers, we're capable of mercy. Daehyun joined them. The Vrenith Collective has issued a formal apology to the Assembly. They're withdrawing from several disputed territories. Apparently, this incident embarrassed them badly. Good, Jinwoo said. Maybe they'll think twice before attacking civilians again. There's more, sir. 3 different species have requested joint training exercises with human forces. They want to learn our tactics. Jinwoo was surprised. Really? Which species? The Talvarians, the Kormoth, and the Sylvine. All military powers. All species that were pushing for restrictions on human expansion just last month. What changed their minds? Daehyun smiled. They watched our combat footage. They saw what Deathworlders can do. Now they want us as allies instead of enemies. Jinwoo looked out at the stars. His fleet had come to this sector as representatives of humanity. They were supposed to patrol quietly, avoid trouble, and prove that humans could be trusted. Instead, they had fought a pitched battle, rescued 300 aliens, and completely changed how several species viewed humanity. Sometimes, Jinwoo said quietly, the best way to prove you're not a monster is to act like a hero. Sir? Daehyun asked. Nothing, just thinking. Set course for our next patrol route. And Daehyun? Yes, sir. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we completed our mission. Tell them everything worked out. Will do, sir. As the Indomitable prepared to depart, Jinwoo received one final transmission. It was from Tolveen, the young Chilari scientist. Captain Kim, the message said, thank you for showing me that strength and kindness are not opposites. I will never forget what you and your crew did for us. I hope our peoples can be friends. Jinwoo saved the message. It was important. It represented something significant, a bridge between species, a moment of understanding. The galaxy was beginning to see humans not as monsters from a death world, but as people worth knowing. And that changed everything. 3 days after the rescue, the Galactic Assembly's Rapid Response Force finally arrived at K447. They found a situation completely resolved. The Chilari were safe. The Vreneth were in custody. The damaged station was being stabilized, and the human fleet was preparing to leave. Admiral Kethron, a four-armed Sylvine who commanded the assembly force, contacted Captain Jinwoo immediately. His tone was confused and slightly annoyed. Captain Kim, we were sent to rescue the Chilari colony. But it appears you've already completed that mission. Yes, Admiral, Jinwoo replied simply. We responded to their distress call. You engaged 15 Vreneth vessels with only 3 ships. Yes, sir. You conducted a hostile boarding operation on a heavily defended station. Yes, sir. You neutralized sophisticated explosives under combat conditions. Yes, sir. And you did all of this with 0 friendly casualties. Jinwoo smiled slightly. 0 fatalities, sir. We had some injuries. Admiral Kethron was silent for a moment. Then he said something unexpected. Captain, I've been in the assembly military for 40 years. I've never seen anything like this. Your after-action report reads like fiction. It's all accurate, Admiral. We have full sensor logs and combat footage if you need verification. Oh, I believe you. That's what concerns me. The things your crew accomplished should have been impossible. By galactic standards, perhaps, but humans have different standards. That evening, Elder Veshtan made an unusual request. He wanted to address the Galactic Assembly directly. Normally, the Chilari avoided politics. They were neutral in most conflicts, preferring peace and isolation. But Veshtan said this was too important to stay silent. The Assembly granted his request. It would be broadcast across all member worlds. Billions of beings would watch. Lieutenant Hana helped Veshtan prepare his statement, making sure the translation systems would work properly. Are you sure about this, Elder? Hana asked. Once you make this public, you can't take it back. I'm certain, Veshtan said. The galaxy needs to hear the truth about humans. Too many species fear you without understanding you. The broadcast began with footage from the station's security systems. The galaxy watched as Vreneth pirates attacked the peaceful Chilari colony. They saw the desperate distress call. They saw the human fleet arrive against overwhelming odds. Then came the footage that would change everything. Security cameras showed human marines moving through conditions that would kill most species. Vacuum, fire, radiation, toxic atmospheres. The humans kept going, fighting with skill and determination. The footage showed Specialist Yoonji working on the explosives with seconds to spare. It showed Sergeant Junho and his team fighting the Vreneth in close combat. It showed Dr. Yuna treating patients in an environment that was slowly killing them, working without protective equipment because she didn't need it. And finally, it showed Captain Jinwoo accepting the Vreneth surrender. The galaxy heard his words about following assembly law, about giving even enemies a chance to do the right thing. When the footage ended, Elder Veshtan appeared on screen. His voice was steady and clear. My people were dying, he said. We had called for help, but we knew no one would arrive in time. The assembly's ships were too far away. We had accepted our death. And then the humans came. He paused, letting his words sink in across the galaxy. The humans didn't have to help us. We had nothing to offer them. They risked their lives for strangers. They fought in conditions that would kill any of us. They showed skill and courage that seemed impossible. But more than that, they showed mercy. When their enemies surrendered, they accepted it. They followed the law even when vengeance would have been easier. Veshaton's large eyes gazed directly at the camera. Many of you fear humans because they come from a death world. You see them as dangerous. You see them as aggressive. You see them as potential threats. But I am here to tell you that you are wrong. The humans are not monsters. They are protectors. Their strength comes from their world, yes? But so does their compassion. They understand suffering because they have known suffering. They understand the value of life because their world taught them how precious it is. He paused again, and when he spoke, his voice was filled with emotion. 300 of my people are alive today because humans answered our call. Judge them not by your fears, but by their actions. That is all I have to say. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, billions of beings sat in silence, processing what they had seen. On the Indomitable, Jinwoo's crew watched the reactions come in. The first responses were cautious. Some species claimed the footage was edited or exaggerated. But as more information came in from neutral observers, the skeptics went quiet. The Vreneth Collective issued a formal statement. They confirmed everything in the broadcast. They added their own footage from their ships, showing how the human fleet had fought. The statement included an apology to the Galactic Assembly and a promise to reform their practices. Then something unexpected happened. The Talvarians, a major military power, issued a statement praising the human rescue operation. They called it an example of military excellence and moral courage. Within hours, two other major species added their voices: the Kormoth, the Sylvine. All species that had been cautious about humanity suddenly wanted closer ties. "Captain," Hana said, her console showing message after message, "we're being flooded with communications, diplomatic requests, trade offers, military cooperation proposals, scientific exchanges, cultural programs. Sir, I'm getting requests from species I've never even heard of." Daehyun checked his own console. Earth Command is sending priority messages. They want a full briefing. The diplomatic corps is going crazy. Apparently, 3 different species that were pushing for human restrictions have withdrawn their proposals. "What's happening?" Lieutenant Soman asked. Jinwoo understood. "We're being accepted. The galaxy is finally seeing us as partners instead of threats. Because we saved some people? Because we showed what we truly are. Strong enough to fight, but wise enough to show mercy. Capable of violence, but committed to peace. We proved we can be trusted." Down in the medical bay, Yuna was saying goodbye to her last Chilari patients. Most had already been transferred to assembly medical ships. Only a few remained, including Tolveen. "Will I see you again?" the young scientist asked. "Maybe," Yuna said. "The galaxy is big, but it's getting smaller. Who knows what the future holds?" "I want to study medicine," Tolveen said suddenly. "Like you. I want to learn how to help people the way you helped us." Yuna smiled. "That's a good goal. The galaxy needs more healers." "Can I study on Earth?" Yuna was surprised. "Earth? Tolveen, you wouldn't survive there. The gravity alone would crush you." "Not Earth itself, but maybe a human station? I want to learn from humans. You understand medicine differently than we do. You've experienced things we can't imagine. That knowledge could save lives. I'll talk to my superiors. Maybe we can arrange something." Master Sergeant Taeyang stood in the armory, cleaning his rifle. His Marines were doing the same, performing maintenance on their equipment. The mood was relaxed, satisfied. They had done their job well. Specialist Yunji approached him. "Sergeant, I got a message from Galactic Assembly Engineering Command. They want to know how I disarmed those explosives. They say it should have been impossible." "What did you tell them?" "That I didn't disarm them. I just made them mine instead of theirs." Taeyang laughed. "That's very human of you. They want me to come to their headquarters and teach their bomb technicians human methods." "Will you go?" Yunji shrugged. "Maybe. Could be interesting to show them what we can do." A week later, the Indomitable received new orders from Earth Command. They were to continue their patrol as planned, but with an addition. They were now authorized to conduct joint training exercises with allied species. They were to share human tactics and learn alien methods in return. It was the beginning of real integration. Not humans as outsiders, but humans as members of the galactic community. Jinwoo stood on the bridge, reading the orders. Daehyun joined him. Congratulations, sir. You've changed everything. I didn't do it alone. The crew did this. Everyone from the Marines to the engineers to the medical staff, we all did this together. Still, you made the critical decisions. You chose to respond to that distress call. You chose to accept the surrender. Those choices mattered. Jinwoo looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 300 Chilari were alive because his crew had answered their call. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was reassessing everything it thought it knew about humans. You know what the interesting thing is? Jinwoo said. We didn't do anything special. We just did what any decent person would do. We helped someone who needed help. That's basic humanity. But to the galaxy, it was revolutionary. Maybe that's what they needed to see. That underneath all our strength and all our dangerous capabilities, we're still people who care about doing the right thing. Maybe, Lieutenant Hana's voice interrupted them. Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's from a colony in the Drevik system. They're having a medical emergency. They're asking if we can help. Jinwoo smiled. It had already started. The galaxy was learning that when they needed help, humans would answer. Plot a course to the Drevik system. Best speed. Yes, sir. As the Indomitable turned toward its new destination, Jinwoo thought about Elder Veshtan's words. Judge humans by their actions. That's all anyone could ask for. And if they kept acting with courage and compassion, the galaxy would eventually understand. Humans came from a death world. That made them strong. But it also made them survivors. And survivors understood better than anyone the value of community, of helping each other, of being there when someone called for aid. The stars streaked past as the ship accelerated. Behind them, the Chilari colony was being rebuilt. Ahead, someone else needed help. And the humans were coming. Everything had changed. The scary newcomers from the dangerous world had become the heroes people called when hope was fading. The monsters had become protectors. The Deathworlders had proven they had the biggest hearts. And across the galaxy, a new phrase was beginning to spread among the species of the assembly. When things looked darkest, when all seemed lost, when no one else could help, there was one question that brought hope. Where are the humans? Because everyone now knew the answer. The humans were wherever they were needed most. They were the ones who came when others ran. They were the ones who fought when others surrendered. They were the ones who cared when others gave up. They were human. And that meant something now. It meant everything.